So, ladies and gentlemen, in today's video, we got to talk about how New York, they went past their budget deadline. This is a big deal because it had to do with the concerns about illegal immigrants, of course, and the state counting on money that's likely not even going to come in. New York has gotten so expensive that for a family of four, it costs nearly $160K per year. But somehow, Zoran Mamdani is still being sold like he is a part of the solution, even though when he was asked a very basic question during a press conference, where are the jobs supposed to come from? He's talking about industry and all this he's about to bring to New York, but where are the jobs going to come from, Mamdani? He has no real answers, and that kind of tells you everything you need to know. But we're going to break it all down. And so, as always, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel so you stay locked in with future videos, and turn on all for your notifications. That way you never miss. Let's get right into it.
How long will this go on for?
Well, Lara, I've been told everywhere between the Masters tournament, the golf tournament down in Georgia, which is the week after Easter, all the way into the month of May. And just judging from the energy inside that building today and around the Capitol, it feels more like the latter, feels more like into the month of May. And as you know, as you get deeper into the month of April and May, that starts impacting municipalities' budgets along with the school budget votes too. So those are all on the docket here. And as you just mentioned a moment ago, every budget that's been under Kathy Hochul has been late at this point. But there's a reason for that. All five of them. She uses the deadline as a negotiation tool, hoping it'll force legislators to come to the table and look at policies that she wants or doesn't want and consider them more. This year, that's the climate law changes, auto insurance, environmental regulations for housing. Republican Minority Leader Ed Robb pointing out today that the state Democrats openly have been critical of the federal government controlled by Republicans when it comes to their government shutdowns. The Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins responding to that today.
However, I will say that state government, unlike our federal government, is not fighting about how to keep government open and how to do the essential things for New Yorkers. And all too often on a federal level, they can't do that.
She did echo the governor when the governor has said they want to take the time to make sure the budget is a good one to their definition of that. She also reflected on the power of the governor in the process and how it's set up here today, especially when it comes, as you just mentioned, the paychecks and these lawmakers not being paid until the budget is done. So coming up later on at 6, we'll talk more about one of the biggest issues on the table and something you might not be expecting that's currently on the back burner and maybe delaying this process even more. But for now, reporting live here from New York State Capitol, Tom Esham, CBS 6 News, back to you.
Yeah, and so you heard that, and I wanted to jump into this report that covers some of the obstacles that have led to the budget deadline being missed. And one of the reasons is because apparently you got another Democrat governor. We've seen this in Jersey. We've seen this in Virginia. We've seen this in a bunch of Democrat states. They are more concerned about protecting illegal aliens than focusing on solving real issues. But let's take a look at this read real quick. And the report reads, Hochul lawmakers to miss New York budget deadline again. The New York state budget will be late this year again. Governor Kathy Hochul and the Democrat-led state legislature failed to reach an agreement ahead of Wednesday's deadline. Marking the 7th consecutive year, the budget will be passed after the April 1st start of the state's fiscal year. Lawmakers passed a one-week budget extender on Tuesday, ensuring state workers will get paid as scheduled this week. The governor and lawmakers are still tussling over several weighty policy measures that have been swept up into budget talks despite having little effect on the state's revenues or spending. That includes a proposal to restrict local governments from cooperating with federal immigration authorities, and another to reshape auto insurance laws. Then there are taxes. Democratic lawmakers, in alignment with New York City's Mayor Zoran Mamdani, are hoping to raise taxes on the wealthy and corporations to help fund the mayor's agenda and plug the city's estimated $5 billion budget gap. Yeah, and so you have another Democrat governor putting more focus on illegal immigrants than actual citizens, right? And you heard me mention that Democratic lawmakers in alignment with New York City's Mayor Zoran Mamdani, they're hoping to raise taxes on the wealthy and corporations to help fund the mayor's agenda and plug the city's estimated $5 billion budget gap. But the city council, they are not really rocking with Mamdani on that whole idea. They would rather do something that seems to be a foreign concept to Mamdani, which is to cut spending and work within a strict budget. Such a unique idea, but take a listen.
Our responsibility is to try to identify areas of savings.
The City Council says it's found the necessary savings to plug the city's fiscal hole. City Council Speaker Julie Menon unveiled a $6 billion savings proposal as an alternative to Mamdani's doom and gloom approach that calls for possible increased property taxes and dipping into the city's savings.
We can find the savings in the way that we did without cutting services. So our position has been clear. We have been a hard no on the property tax. We also are a hard no on rating the rainy day fund.
The plan aims to plug the hole by re-estimating the city's costs and revenues. $3.5 billion would be achieved through things like increasing the Department of Buildings revenues by $80 million for permits and late fees and re-estimating the cost of city salaries to not fund vacant positions that could save $860 million. Meanwhile, another $2.5 billion will be saved through things like auditing education department contracts that would save $175 million and re-estimating debt services savings to include an additional $204 million. It's a plan that got a failing grade from the mayor.
Cherry-picking specific expense items that have a surplus without accounting for the fact that those are the very kinds of surpluses that are typically used to address individual deficits within departments and agencies, it does not present an honest picture of what this budget is.
Mayor Mamdani called the council budget unrealistic because of its lack of a revenue source. At an unrelated press conference, Mamdani criticized some of the council's proposals like the vacancy savings.
That kind of a plan puts the city on the hook for money that will not actually appear. It will force the city to cut services elsewhere in order to find that kind of funding.
And so now let's get into this part right here, because you have Zoran Mamdani, who recently held a press conference speaking about some things he plans on implementing in New York City. But I wanted to focus on when he was asked about where those jobs he's speaking of, where are they going to come from? The cost of living in New York City for a family of four is $160K per year, roughly. And Mamdani, he wants to tax businesses and tax the rich and tax homeowners with an estate tax starting at $750K. But what about the jobs? What about the JOB? So let's take a listen to Mamdani's answer. Check it out.
I was texting with you. Good. How are you, sir?
Doing well.
I was texting with your team because I wanted kind of a real number on this 62% you've been mentioning. They say that it costs $159,179 for a family with children to live in the city. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out that's a pretty eye-popping number, well above the poverty line. So now that you have that data in hand, two questions. How does this inform what, if anything, you'll do different now that you realize in hard data the scale of the affordability crisis? And also, you have a number of partners in government, including the governor, the comptroller, and the speaker, saying that the job situation in the city is really starting to look very, very troubling. So looking at this data, looking at the jobs numbers, what are you doing to bring jobs to the city right now?
So I'll start with the first question and then go to the second. We, as New Yorkers, have long suspected in our bones that this cost of living crisis was affecting far more people than typical indicators would show. And what today's true cost of living report illustrates is that this is something which is affecting the lives of millions. I mean, 5 million New Yorkers do not earn enough to match the true cost of living in this city. It inspires us to redouble our commitments in two ways. One is to ensure that as many New Yorkers in this city as possible can earn a living wage so that they can actually keep up with the cost of living in the city. And two is to tackle the costs that are pushing that cost of living so high. So some of those costs we know in this city are housing costs. Some of those costs are also childcare costs. Part of the reason why we've been so focused on delivering universal childcare in this city is that we know that if a family has a child in this city, For them to find childcare, it's considered a good deal to pay $20,000 a year. If you can tackle that cost and you can bring that down to zero, that is a transformative impact on working class New Yorkers' ability to live and to dream of a future in this city. That's why we're so excited about delivering 2,000 seats for 2-year-olds of free childcare this fall, 12,000 seats next year, and a seat for every single 2-year-old by the end of year 4. Now, to your second question, we are looking to continue to grow not just jobs, but also industry in this city, and to ensure that that growth reaches every single New Yorker. Now, I say reaches because what we've seen in this city is an economy that has grown, and we celebrate that growth, all amidst working class New Yorkers being pushed out of this city.
Yeah, so you heard that, and personal opinion, more and more each day, you realize New York is cooked. And you can see why, because he was asked a very basic question. Where are the jobs going to come from? This is the data. This is what they're talking about, the comptroller. This is what this is what people who are inside the government, who are inside of leadership, they're saying the numbers are looking bad. They're looking troubling. And so how are you? You're the mayor. You're talking about you're going to create job growth. How? Now, there are a number of answers you could provide. We're going to provide tax incentives, tax breaks to businesses who decide to come to New York City, that sort of thing. You could list off a bunch of things that obviously that would be the answer, but nothing he said there was actually a legit answer other than, oh, the government will fix it. The government will take care of it. Don't have a real answer for you, but, you know, with that whole making life less expensive for working people, the government will take care of it because we'll tax these businesses to pay for our universal child care. And then in order to bring more jobs to the city, well, we don't really have an answer for that, but, you know, they'll be incentivized, right? Because we're taxing businesses. That'll be the perfect incentive because we want to actually tax those businesses more. And that's why I say New York is cooked. Because all roads lead back to the government will take care of it. We'll spend more money. We'll tax people more. And eventually when the people who we want to tax or we try to tax leave, we're going to tax you. The middle class who we said we were trying to save and help out. Well, we got no choice left. We're going to tax somebody. I mean, somebody's going to get this tax work. It's hilarious when you think about as far as just round and around they go in New York. But those are my thoughts in the update. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, enjoy the content. Smash that thumbs up. Subscribe for future videos. And as always, until next time.